Well, hello everybody. Pastor Randy here. Welcome to Making It Simple. Great to be with you on this beautiful Friday. I hope that you have had a great week. There's so many different things going on around us that are puzzling, some are discouraging. It comes back down to what we're talking about, moving from fear to faith. There are so many things around us that elicit fear. There's so many things around us that constantly give birth to that, if you will. And sadly, we have many that seem to derive some type of pleasure from continually bringing that about. Certainly, we know the enemy does, because if we're in fear, we're not accomplishing anything. If we're in fear, we are overwhelmed and quite possibly are able to be overpowered. And sadly, that is much of what we see in the world today. What I want us to talk about today is operating in faith. Fear stops movement. Fear is very much can paralyze us or cause us to create a great pause to where we don't take one step. We don't take one breath. I mean, there's all different types of things that fear brings about. But it requires faith to pursue the unknown. Oftentimes God places things before us and says, go. God places opportunities before us and says, the door is open. But the fear of the unknown causes us to stay in place, which says that we're not trusting in the promise of God, which says, I'm not having faith in what He says that I can do. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 6 is very clear. It says, without faith, it is impossible to please Him. Now, what does that mean? If we're saying, okay, Lord, I know you said I can do it, but you're going to have to prove it to me, that doesn't require me to have any faith. If I prove to you what I can or can't do, you don't need to have any faith in my ability because I'm already doing it. God is giving us opportunities and challenges that help us grow. They help us strengthen not just our inner core, but our character to become more as what He's called us to be, and that is more Christ-like. That is why Paul says, I press toward the mark of God. But that is to be more Christ-like. That's what he's talking about. That verse goes on and says, for he who comes to God must believe that He is. God is God. God is capable. And that He is a rewarder of them who diligently seek Him. Seek there is the key word, because seek is an action word. Seek says, I'm going after this. Seek says, I believe that God says I can do it. I'm going. I'm going. Not based on my ability, based on His ability in me. When we look at that verse, though, what we have to understand is it says, without faith it is impossible to please God. We must believe that He is, and He diligently rewards those who seek Him. That's not a suggestion. When we understand the things of God that have been placed before us, we either trust Him or we don't. So we look at this story in Joshua and we see the Israelites sitting on the banks of the Jordan. Now, we could easily, if we could put ourselves in that picture, you're sitting before the raging river. Now, the person that you're following, the person that is leading your journey, has just told you, we're going to cross that. He didn't say maybe. He said, we're going to go do it. But he also didn't say how. You look around, you don't see a boat. You know you don't swim well. It's swollen to the banks. It's raging. It's roaring. We can easily discern that there are probably about at least three thoughts of overwhelming thought while sitting there wondering this one question: how in the world are we going to do that? How many of us ask that question on a daily basis when it comes to pretty much everything? You know, we're looking at our expenses and we're looking at the bank account. We turn to one another or we turn to ourselves in the mirror, because we all do talk to ourselves whether we admit it or not. And we say, how in the world am I going to do that? But here's the thing: God never says I. The only time we see God proclaiming I is when Jesus in the book of John and the book of Revelation says, I am. But what he's saying even in that is, I am your answer. So when we take on that singular identity, saying, how am I going to do this? We begin to get, just like these that are sitting on the riverbank wondering, how in the world? So they're looking at what they knew, meaning what they've been told. They remember when the spy report came back that, they had been given the promised land. God said, go forth and get it. But the spy report came back when they went to check it out, and they came back and said, oh, yeah, it's everything God said it would be, everything. But we allow but to get in the way all the time. And I said, it's everything God said it could be. But man, there's giants there, and there's great walls, and there's all these different things that are against us. God never said that every road would be easy. God never said that. But they forget here the part he said, it's yours. You can have it. It's like sitting in front of the river. You're going to cross it. I didn't really necessarily tell you how, because I want you to trust me for that answer. So that's what they knew, or otherwise that's what they remembered they'd been told. And here then we can look at what they know, because it's right in front of them presently. The raging river. I see it. It's right there. This enormous bill that's come that I can't pay. I see it. It's right there. This difficulty with my family. That's whatever the case. It's right there. It's raging right in front of me. But we're supposed to cross that? How? How are we supposed to do this? How are we supposed to manage this? But then thirdly, what they don't know. And this is where we get tripped up, all of us. The unknown, what can't be seen, the thing that requires faith, the faith to go forth, the faith to say, okay, I don't understand it, and I don't know how, but I know he does, and I'm going to go with God on this. We either embrace that or we remain in fear and we don't go anywhere. We cross nothing, we accomplish nothing, and we crumple underneath the pressure of what it is that is causing this fear and anxiety, which basically says we're going to forego our trust in God. If we look at our context from Joshua, it says, for you have not passed this way before. In other words, what you're about to do, what you're about to encounter, will require faith. And even in this modern age today, regardless of what river we're looking at, regardless of how bad it's raging, and that river is an illustration of anything that it could be. It could be health, it could be financial, it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be family, work, it could be the world situation as a whole. Whatever it may be that is before you, and we're constantly saying, how? Go back and understand. As you're sitting on the banks of the Jordan and you're looking at it, God has said you're going to cross it. He didn't tell you how. Jesus said, I came to give you life, and it abundantly. We sit sometimes, how am I going to do this? How am I going to live this? He is our great I am. He is the one who is the bread of life. He is the light of the world. He is our good shepherd. He is the door. He is the answer to everything, friends. Faith is necessary. But isn't that one of the great hindrances in our life today? personally and collectively, even as the body of Christ. We've never been that way before. We've never done it that way before. So we're not going. Think about how often that gets in the way. We can't see the other side of the river. So crossing it, yeah, that's not going to happen. That seems like a foolish idea, in fact, because we don't know what might happen on the other side. We don't know how we're going to make it. We don't know how. Here's the problem. I'm going to close with this today. God said to cross it. So do we allow fear? Do we allow fear to stop us from following God's command? Or do we embrace our faith and say, here I am, Lord. Let's go. We'll pick back up on this Monday. God bless you. Have an awesome weekend. I'll see you soon.